All right, we are live now. We are recording. Mr. Franklin, thank you for your time. First thing I'd like you to do is if you could just give a brief self-introduction, who you are, and
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah. So my name is Nate Franklin. I think you wanted to interview me, just talk about career and kind of my ideas about business. And we, I work in renewable energy. So I've been, I went to business school at UCLA, graduated in 2008, and then after business school, got into solar, and it was real early time. 2008, like the industry was just minuscule, and was worked at a big company, which was like the sister company to Southern California Edison, which is a big utility in California, and was there about a year and a half and just saw a lot of opportunities to do solar, essentially develop projects entrepreneurially. So left the company I was at and hooked up with some investors and raised some money and went out and developed a portfolio of projects that about a year and a half after we started, those were acquired by BP and then British Petroleum. And then I went to work for BP for a year, but was still looking at other opportunities and saw, huge opportunity in Japan to do the same thing that I had done in California as far as develop projects. And so, so left BP with the money I'd made on the prior sale, and then leveraged that into more investor money, and then went and started a company to develop projects in Japan. And that was 2012, and it was much more successful, I think, than you and I had hoped to be. And so ended up being the largest renewable energy developer in Japan, and we expanded in Korea and Vietnam and some other countries. And now I'm back in California and still have the companies out there, and go out. Used to go out a lot before COVID, but haven't been going out as much with the travel restrictions. But spend a lot of time managing it and have a ton of other stuff going on as far as business wise and investments all over the place. And
What's your favorite part about it, about this career that you're on?
I think what I really like is just being able to create something, not having like restrictions about what you can and can't do. Once you get to the point where you have your own capital and you're investing it, then you can really you just have a lot of control over what you're doing. You can jump at opportunities. You don't have to ask. What's nice is you don't have to ask permission from a lot of people. You just kind of do what you want.
What's your least favorite part about it? If there is one.
I'd say recently kind of what's been tough is I just feel like I'm like spread too thin. Like I've maybe gotten into too many things. And it was nice, when I was doing the business, especially first starting in Japan, or when I was doing the projects in California, I was able to really just kind of hone in and focus on one thing. And now it's like, the old adage, more money, more problems. I don't want to say that there's problems, but it's just crazy the amount of stuff you got, you have.
It's Notorious B.I.G., I think, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, maybe
I don't know if that's an adage, but sure, okay.
Maybe before their time, but
yeah.
But yeah, just just a lot going on, kind of spread thin, and I can't kind of like focus in or zoom into things like I used to be able to.
Well, thanks for zooming in.
Yeah. But which kind of means I need to hire better people. What it all comes down to, or find better people.
Yeah.
To help out.
Well, so tell me about what you're doing now. The one of the things that's maybe spreading it thin, but beyond renewable energy, is there something else?
Business wise?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I told the students about Aries. I said, here's what.
Yeah. So earlier this year, I took a large ownership in a company that essentially what they do, they own a ton of essentially ex-military fighter jets, and governments around the world will hire them to train their military. So essentially, if you want to train your own pilots, what you have to do is you'll have to send up 2 planes to train 1 pilot, because you have to have a plane to fly against them. And so this company essentially provides what they call the adversarial air training part. So I invested in that. It's kind of one of these things you don't ever plan on, but one thing I've always been is super opportunistic. I don't try to have like a concrete plan about what's going to happen the next 2 or 3 years. You just kind of have in your mind what you want to happen, but then you got to be flexible to opportunities or things that come up. And so this is just an opportunity that popped up, and so they had a big contract with the government to provide this service, and it's definitely been a learning experience. Like some things have been good, some things have been not as planned, of course. I think you're definitely not as good going outside the industry that you've been in. The old Michael Jordan, trying to play baseball for 2 years. The best athlete in the world, but he wasn't that good at it. So it's it's one thing I'm learning. It's takes a while to get kind of into a new industry and up to speed, to really where you have like real good judgment about what you're doing.
Yeah, well, that's insightful. What mindset do you feel? So you talked about, I got 2 questions here. One is, have you ever made a formal business plan?
Yes,
When
definitely. Yeah. I mean, when I started, when I left the big company I was with right after business school to go the entrepreneurial route and develop some projects, I had to come up with a business plan. And more than anything, like it really helps, when you're trying to raise investment, of course you need to show a plan. And so that, it was needed for that. But then also too, I think just for yourself, it really helps to kind of put your ideas onto paper, and it really helps to flesh out like really what you want to do. And, it's interesting, we do a quarterly kind of business plan update for what we're doing in Japan. And the team there, they go into like excruciating detail on every little thing they're doing in the plan. And it's like these, this amazing presentation that they give. And I even tell them like, hey guys, like, you don't have to spend so much time doing this. Or even I'll tell them like, hey, I was just there, a few weeks ago. Like, I know in the quarters coming up, I already, I know what's going on. We don't have to like go into so much detail on this plan. But they like to do it, and more than anything, because it helps them kind of organize their thoughts or what they want to do and what their plans are. So, I think there's a lot of value to doing business plans for sure. That said, things never go according to plan. So I just launched a new business about 3 months ago to do, and it had been something that me and a partner of mine had been mulling over the last couple of years, an idea, but it's to do essentially commercial and industrial projects in California. So not the big utility scale like power plants I've been doing before, where you sell the energy to the utility, but this is essentially what we call behind the meter. So you're selling the energy to the end user, and so you're kind of end arounding the utility. And the projects are a lot smaller, so it's tougher to scale, but I just think there's like a real opportunity there. And essentially the idea is, what we'd like to do is even become a utility. And regulations are changing, and kind of technology is changing to kind of allow that. So we launched this business a few months ago, and I'd say we have a business plan, but it's not, I don't think it's the type of plan and detail we'd be able to go out and raise outside capital with. But that said, it kind of organize our thoughts of what we want to do and put it down on paper. But I just know so much is going to change, anyway. So no need to go into like so much detail on it, because in 6 months is all going to be different,
Do you have a template or a tool that you use for that?
No, I mean, maybe you recycle other PowerPoints, but a lot of what it comes down to is the financial model. I always say that too. It's like, what does a financial model say? I'd say one thing like you have to be good at in business is numbers. Or if you're not good at numbers, you need to find someone to partner with that is good at numbers, because usually it all comes down to, what does the financial model say? Like I think there's a lot of plans that launch that people launch and they're probably dead in the water before they even start, just because like the numbers don't really work on it.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'd say if template, no, but we definitely have like financial models that we you know, really focus on.
Right on. And then what mindset would you say allows you to do that? Allows you to kind of strike the balance between having a plan but being ready to adapt when things don't go according to plan? Is there a mindset or a mantra or something that you
Yeah,
have?
I think it's really important to worry about the things that you can control, but don't worry about the things that you can't control. You know, just like know that you can be, I guess, you know, don't be so stuck in one lane or in one way of doing things. You got to be open-minded. And, you know, it comes down to like, in a lot of ways, humility. And I think that's a lot of, you know, you can't be prideful in business because, you know, the minute you get prideful, you're going to get knocked off by someone else. And you're not going to be as successful as you could be. But, you know, I think the mindset is it takes humility to know like, hey, there's a lot of stuff I don't know, or that, you know, I'm going to have to change in the future, and kind of always be learning and always having your eyes open and always be listening to other opinions about ways to do things or how to do things. And, but then also like being confident when, you know, when you think you're right. Cause that's what, you know, I think being an entrepreneur is all about, is like, you got to be confident in yourself and what you think is going to happen, and kind of move forward. So it's kind of striking that right balance of, you know, being humble and flexible and willing to change your mind, but also being confident in the things you do know.
Like humble confidence.
Yeah.
Or is it confident humility? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It's one of those.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Thank you. I didn't plan on asking that, but that's pretty cool. That's really neat. So let's shift gears a little bit here on to talk more about well, we're going to move our way into HR, but I wanted to ask you, what, as an executive, so you're CEO of one or more companies, and or have been, in what? So you're an investor, an executive. What's the greatest challenge for you as an executive? Not as an investor, but as an executive.
Yeah, I think you know, I think at this point it's just knowing much as really it's having enough time to you know, look at everything that's going on with the different, you know, things I'm involved with. And then I would say too, you know, you get so busy where you're just like, your whole day could be managing your inbox, where you never have time to think. You know, one person I really look up to in the business world is Reed Hastings, who's the CEO of Netflix. And he said something really interesting the other day. You know, he just has a new book out, and I'm sure, I don't know if you read it, you know, because they're kind of, Netflix is all about HR. But
yeah.
and I think it talks a lot about that. But one thing he said is like, CEOs that are really busy aren't good CEOs. And I thought that was really interesting, because the way you think of a CEO is like they never have a spare minute and they're always on the phone or doing email or meetings all day. But you really need to be able to like step away and think. And you know, I think and also too, if you're like super busy, then you're just like not delegating enough. So I think you know, one of the challenges really for me is just like having enough time to like be able to get done what I need to get done or make the decisions I need to make. And then just being able to like step away and have like quiet time and just like think about things or think about the business, or, you know, ponder something, like, because if you don't do that, otherwise you're just always reactionary. And, you know, I don't think you're going to be able to really be as successful kind of moving things forward or getting out ahead of things.
Yeah. So then what would you say is the most painful part on a day-to-day basis? 'Cause that we're kind of a medium level, and maybe this is a day-to-day with your response there, but just to be sure, like on a daily basis, what would you say is the part that's painful for you?
On a daily basis,
And maybe it is trying to strike this balance between managing your inbox and finding time.
Yeah.
That's what you'd say to be.
Yeah, I think that's what I'd say right now. It's kind of the
And
painful
then
process.
and then you answered this question earlier, but it was more along the lines of an entrepreneur. So this time I want you to answer it as an executive, and certainly they overlap. But what would you say is the most enjoyable part of being an exec?
Um, I'd say just it's really enjoyable to see a plan come together.
Hmm.
When things are going right and you're like,
The
okay,
A
I
team,
had a
right?
hunch that was going to happen, and I thought that it was going to play out like that, and it comes together, and I think that's real enjoyable. Um, and especially like, I think too, just like working with really other like people that are also like really smart and um, you know people that are driven, and then kind of working together to like make something happen.
Hmm.
Being on the same page with other people and on the same wavelength, and kind of
Yeah.
seeing things
So like,
similar. Kind of
le-
that's like kind of making the magic happen.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You're bringing the team together. What's the A team quote? That's what I was trying to think. I love it when a plan comes together or something. This is
Yeah,
another
yeah,
reference the students won't get, but whatever. You remember
yeah.
the A team, right?
I
Dun,
do.
dun,
Yeah,
dun, dun,
with their
dun.
van,
Yeah, the band. That's right.
their big
See,
van. Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, all right. So now to HR. We've covered you being an entrepreneur and an investor, an executive. I want to ask specifically, connecting HR to the business. So candidly, are you ready?
Yeah.
First thing that comes to your mind when I say HR, go.
Oh, payroll.
Payroll. Okay. What else? What are some other things you think of that are on your mind as an exec
Yeah.
when you think HR?
Um, I'd say before I kind of started a business, yeah, the things I would think about HR would have been like, when I was in big companies, I always just felt like there was like wasting time, like wasting my time.
I'm gonna try not to laugh.
They'd have yeah, some, some learning thing or some training, or I don't know. I just felt like it was like, you know, a
Meet in
waste
the
of time.
conference.
Like,
Let's
let
go
me
meet
get
in
to
the
the business.
conference room and have another
Yeah,
time. Yeah.
yeah. But I would say having, grown a business, um, and, started and grown a business, and, how to go from, 5 people to, over 100 people, like it all comes down to the people. And so when you think about HR as, how do you like recruit and like retain the best people, like that's really what my whole job has turned into at this point. Like,
Hmm.
or for myself to kind of continue to be success or to have success in the things I want to do, it's all comes down to like, my job is a lot less of like doing is what it used to. I first started the company, like it was, me and a few other people. It was like I was doing everything, and then it kind of turns into a lot more of like, how do I like find and recruit and then like retain and like keep motivated like the best people. And that's really like the best thing, the most value I can add is doing that. And so like when you talk about HR in that way, I mean HR is like, critical. So yeah, critical to our success and what we do.
Would you say that that would allow you recruiting and retaining and motivating the best talent? That does that help solve that big issue? That how does that connect to your biggest challenge that you mentioned earlier about as an exec?
It's that's a good question, because it's a really direct connection. I think of, our business in Japan. Of all I'm doing right, still that's probably, you know has the most people, generates the most cash, has the most going on. I probably spend the least amount of my time on our business in Japan of all the things I'm doing. And the reason is because we have amazing people there, running the business and working there. And it's like, and uh, it, because of that, like, I don't really have to spend, like, I can like totally, step away and just think about kind of big picture things. And, yeah, like I don't have to spend that much time, or I can use my time to go do different things. So, when you talk about kind of the pain point I have kind of in my day, like it's finding, better people to kind of do the other things or to get involved in the other things that I'm doing, have it be companies that have invested in, or actually people that are out, looking for investments or closing deals or running, businesses that I'm involved in. It's like finding those people that are just super talented, where, they have really good judgment, where you can trust them, and, you can be just way more hands off. And what it comes down to is like they they make me look good essentially. Because
And well, there's a direct connection here, but how do you do that? So how do you go about recruiting and finding those people in broad terms? You don't need to mention specific.
Yeah. It's something I should probably spend, if I was smart, I'd probably spend more time doing, trying to do that in my day. It's interesting. We have a job description right now that we're kind of drafting to find like a kind of like a private equity deal person that could be here in the US, because we have a couple people that do that in Japan. But I think it's just kind of like what I was getting back to before, is like stepping away a little bit, from the busy work, and kind of thinking in terms of like, what do I do to find those people? And, and I think too, once you have people that are good and talented, and a good fit, like you need to do whatever you can to keep them happy. So that's what I try to do. Like, don't ignore your good people. Support them
after they're on board.
Yeah. I just got off the phone with a guy today that's working for us out in Florida on something, and I just called him to say, hey, like, how are things going? What can I do to help you? Like, what can I do to support you? Like, just kind of let him know, like, we appreciate what he's doing.
Wow, that's pretty rad. Getting a call from the head honcho, That's pretty cool. You're definitely a servant leader, is what I would classify you at, your style anyway. Any other thoughts before? So I'll have a final question, just asking career advice that you have for the students. But before I ask that, I'm curious what any other thoughts on how you connect, because we're at our time here. I know you got to go, and so any other thoughts on how HR connects to your business?
Yeah, I mean, it's just I think what I would really recommend, because we've kind of adopted this as much as we can, and I think it's amazing, just ideas, is the whole, like, going back to the whole Netflix model. Like, I really recommend, like, read, if you don't have time to read the book, read the go to that slide deck that was kind of the famous slide share from 10 or 15 years ago, where they talked about it, like
a professional sports team, that one, right?
A professional sports team.
Yeah.
And the other really interesting concept in that too is that, and I've seen this, the bigger your company gets and the more complex it gets, there's a natural inclination to kind of put more rules in or processes to kind of like, okay, this is how things should be done, or this is how we do it, because you kind of lose control a little bit. But it's actually the opposite is what should be done. And this was one of the big takeaways from that, in that the bigger you get, you need to be like less control and more hands off, and like empower your people to make decisions and to do, to do their thing. And so you almost need to, companies always make the same mistake, that they make more restriction, more rules. You actually need to take out the rules and restrictions and just let people, do their thing. But it all comes down to having the right people.
I was just going to say that. That works. That strategy works. If you hire the right people.
That's right.
Yeah, right on. Hey, thank you so much. I can't express enough. A Well, last thing I'd ask is career advice. Do you have any career advice to the students? And the students are basically a mix of they're management students, and so there's a mix of entrepreneurship students, or innovation and entrepreneurship students, as well as human resource management students, and some other majors as well. But basically, just career advice, not specific to an occupation, is what I'm trying to say, but just broadly speaking.
Yeah, yeah. I would say, really, I heard this advice before from me, and I thought it was really good. Whatever you're doing, no matter what it is, do it really well. So, if you're, and I did this job in college. I worked in the gym doing the laundry for people's dirty towels. Like, do a good job at it, or anything. Or if you're, anything you're doing, like, try to do it exceptional or do it well. And I think as you do that, you'll just build your skills, and you'll develop your talents, and then it'll lead you to kind of to new things. So it's whatever you're doing, do it well. And then also to, like, have an open mind, like, look for opportunities and take them. Think about where you want to go or what you want to achieve. And it doesn't have to be in 10 years, but in 3 months, and then just make it happen. So yeah, be open-minded, look for opportunities, whatever you're doing, try hard and do well at it.
Whate'er thou art, do well thy part. Isn't that?
I've never heard that. What is that?
Whatever thou art, do well thy part. I think it was. Okay. I don't know. It's on like a keystone in some cathedral or something like that. I don't really remember this.
I don't know. I like it though.
The students are going to Google it right now and be like,
"Sounds good, yeah."
It was Plato, dummy, or something like that. But anyway. Yeah. Right on. Okay, and then be open-minded, and then be a butt kicker. Be proactive and a go-getter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah. Hey, Danny, happy to do it anytime. So thanks for the invitation.
Yeah. I'm gonna hit the stop recording here.
Okay.